It started a year ago. I was a prisoner of a correctional facility. I found one day I had powers. I'm David Holt. My crime wasn't homicide or anything too brutal. In fact, it was hacking. I was actually a vigilante hacker. I used to hack accounts of all sorts, get dirt I needed, and anonymously pass it on to the cops. However, I slipped up one day, or so I thought, and one morning, around 4 a.m., they bust down my door and arrested me. No one likes a long intro, or a long build-up to getting the powers, so I'll get right to it. I broke out of jail using my new gift. I mind-controlled the guards to opening the cells and doors and letting me go. A cop visiting the prison pulled his gun on me. I gave him a massive brain hemorrhage by accident. The poor bastard had blood coming out of his nose, ears and eyes. It was like something gave me the power to do to people what I did with computers. Hack them. Hack their brains. The learning curve was a little bloody at first. Learned to kill before I learned to control. Several other inmates had also suffered from hemorrhages thanks to me. Both tried to attack me on 2 separate occasions. I practiced and found by gently pushing I could erase memory. I could control people's movements. Over time I could control multiple people. The people had to be in front of me to do it, but it was my way out. Either that or finish my stint in prison, which I wasn't willing to do. I felt intense anger and hatred towards the cops who arrested me with excessive force. The judge and the idiot who snitched on my vigilantism. So while I was thinking about taking out the worst of the worst, with no choice back to me, I wanted these bastards first. As all things, I started out with semi-good intentions. Well, which would start after I got my personal revenge. I managed to find some clothes and ditch my prison jumpsuit. I used a hoodie and cap to conceal my face as best I could from cameras. Unluckily, I was spotted by a passing police patrol car. My lucky day. It was 2 of the cops who arrested me. They stopped, got out, pulled guns on me, and told me to get down on the ground. I went to my knees, and the first, a white male, black hair, built like a tank, came towards me to cuff me. I reached into his mind, and with one thought I ripped through him. He fell to the ground with no sound. The blood from his eyes and nose and ears. The second moved from behind the car. "Mike? You okay? Mike? That's as far as he got. I wanted this one at the time. He dropped his gun. He fell to his knees, holding his head, screaming. Blood started to appear from his nose. He tried to reach for his radio, but I wasn't about to have collateral damage. So I sliced straight through, and he dropped like a sack of potatoes. I got up, walked away. Someone at a window watching me. I looked up. I erased the entire memories of what had just happened and made them think they were asleep at this time. It was like the universe had given me a present. 2 jackasses who used unreasonable force on a male suspect who was cooperating. Let me explain something. While I was originally a vigilante hacker, the reason I could kill with no remorse is I never really liked people anyway. I just did it because it made me feel like I was being useful to society in my own way. The individual person I couldn't give a hoot about unless they were my friends. That coldness with rage and these powers, I intend to rip the minds of everyone who wronged me I'm tired of being the one on the other end of other people's crap, being bullied or oppressed. A while later, I was starting to get hungry. Ironic. I used to stop social wrongings, and now here I am, seeking revenge, which I guess is a social wrong in a way. Guess that makes me a hypocrite, but I'm okay with that. I was standing in the opening to an alleyway. I see a wealthy man walking past me on a busy street. I reach into his mind. I find he has several millions in his bank account. Turns out he's not just a CEO, but he likes to con people. The little guy. I guess lunch is on him. I reach into his mind, made him go to the ATM. The max you could withdraw is 300 from that machine. I made him withdraw this from the ATM and give it to me, after which I scrubbed his memories and walked off to the cafe for lunch. I ordered. I then found another con artist and raided his bank account. Brought myself a laptop, connected to the net via Wi-Fi. Began my search. After a few hours, I had all the people on my list tracked down via location. Damien Marks, 29. The guy who had betrayed me to the cops. Lisa Davis, 47. The judge that didn't seem to care about justice and had obviously lost her passion for the job years prior. Now, from what I could gather, it was just a job. Mark Hicks, 38. The lead detective on my case. The last two remaining officers from my arrest, Joanna Taylor, 31, and Joe Cansdow, 27. I had names, numbers, addresses, and they were all about to drop like flies. The closest was Joanna Taylor. I arrived outside her home. Looked like most of the other homes on the street. I went to her door. I knocked. A man answered. "Hi," I asked. "Is Joanna home?" I asked. He replied, "Yeah, who's asking?" I decided to Jedi mind trick him. "You were cool for your wife for me." He stared for a moment. "Honey, it's for you." She came through the hallway. I hid my face the best I could to the last moment. She had flour in her hands, obviously baking. "Yes, who?" She was about to run for her gun. I stopped her by controlling her. I tore into her mind, and she, like the other two officers prior, dropped like a sack of potatoes. Her husband, in a daze, just blankly looked at me. All I could feel was cold rage. I erased every memory he had. I left him a drooling mess on the floor and walked away. I was beginning to feel tired. I found a nice out-of-the-way motel. Also, I thought. I paid and went in to sleep. I awoke to the sound of my door bashing open. It was a SWAT team. They found me. My head was hurting, but I stopped them in their tracks and ripped apart the minds of every officer, including the detective that walked in. Another officer came around the corner. Late arrival, the detective's partner. She was about to pull a gun on me. I stopped her. I removed all her memories. Took away her ability to speak, or remember how to do anything but breathe. I walked out of the room and left the bodies for the coroner. My head was thumping at this point. I looked at the wristwatch I removed from one of the cops. It read 4:08 a.m. I walked off into the night to find me some painkiller. I got into the back of a taxi an hour later or so, and I opened my new laptop. I checked the next address. Next up was Damien Marks, the snitch. I was seething, and my rage was getting worse. I was starting to think there may be a connection between my abilities, the rage, and the headache. Even if it killed me to do it, I would waste a lot of them. We arrived at Damien's address. The driver said, "That's 2847, please." I erased all memory of me being in the car and replaced it with him walking up and telling me to get out as he was on a break and about to take a nap. I knocked the door of Damien's apartment. He answered in slacks and a t-shirt. Looks like he had been binge watching something. judging by the sounds of the TV and the crumbs on his t-shirt. Dave, how? He stopped with the agonizing pain I just induced in his head. How am I out? Well, can't you tell? I pushed him just a fraction further. He was on the floor in agony. I disconnected his brain's ability to send signals to his vocal cords. He couldn't scream. I'm in your head, you bastard. I'm not gonna kill you, but I will do this. With that, I disconnected his brain's ability to send signals to his body with the exception of breathing. Entombing him in his own body. Unable to move, I just paralyzed him from ever being able to do anything ever again, including speak. I knew doctors would keep him alive. I walked away. My powers were growing. I could feel it, along with my headache. A dribble of blood ran down my nose. I walked away, wiping my nose on my coat sleeve. Next up, Lisa Davies. I found her at home, the 47-year-old judge. I saw her through her front window. I entered her mind. I could feel that tiredness within her. I was right. She was tired of life, tired of her job, tired of her ex-husband. I reached in. I found I could manipulate her emotions. First time playing with emotions. I made her feel so terrible she wanted to end it. As I was walking away, I heard it. Bang! She blew her own brains out. Joe Cansdown was my next target. As I arrived in a cab, I see the officer being rushed from his home. I then decided I had no choice but to be quick with this one. I pushed as hard as I could. I hadn't pushed as hard before. It was like his eyeballs exploded out of their sockets, with brain matter not far behind. Looks like the police knew who was on the list and who I was targeting. The detective was last. At this rate, I wasn't going to be getting my target without a lot of collateral damage. At this point, I think my powers are fueling my rage and killing me, but one more and I'm done. My rage was so intense towards the detective that at this point, I feel like you could have 10,000 cops protecting him and I'll waste them all to get to him. Judging by how I'm feeling, I don't think I'll be lasting much past this point. This is my manifesto. I'm doing this on my laptop in the last cab I used. I hope I get my target before I die. Wish me luck. Hey everyone, that was Mind Wrench, a creepypasta I wrote a while back. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.